Hey everybody, it's Whiskey here, and welcome back to Path of Titans. And in this video, we do some bounty hunting on the Apex Killers community server. Apex Killers just recently implemented a bounty hunting system where players can go and hunt down some bounties and get rewards for those bounties. And the harder the target, the higher the reward. I did 2 Magerhorns yesterday, for example, and those got paid out 1,000,000 marks if you killed the right one. And the way it works is that players can put bounties on themselves, and the rewards pay out. Like I said, the harder the bounty, the higher the reward, and that's paid out by the staff. And the players get to post bounties on themselves. So if you want to get hunted down and have a lot of action, you can do that, or you can go hunt down bounties yourself. And so we decided to get on the new updated PT Rex. That's what we are working with here is 2 of the May 2025 update Rexes. They've got some new abilities that I'll go over, and they're a lot of fun. The Rex is actually back. And that intro clip there was just these carcs that we fought. It wasn't a bounty, but I thought it was funny because the guy, after we killed his friend, he decided to run back through and get a cheeky little charge off on us while his body was down, and he bled out because of it. So we got 2 kills for 1. But this is the Rex here, the updated Rex in May 2025. They got an update where it's got some passive abilities now. Unstoppable Object, where you get some knockback resistance, which is very, very helpful. And fighting Carcs and Tyranno Titans and all the stuff with knockback tail, you need as much knockback resistance as you can get to succeed. Otherwise, they'll knock you back and your bone break will miss or your bite will miss because your head gets knocked back, and by the time it closes or bites, it's not over the target. So it's very, very helpful to have this as a passive sense. And then the other passive sense, which is really cool, is On Alert. And that's where if you stand still for 6 seconds, it activates, and you can look around a large area. It's about the size of Impact Crater to give you an idea. It's 200 meters, and you can see footsteps of other players on a radius, that 200-meter radius. Super helpful for stalk and prey and for ambushing. And it's also got the basic senses that it always had, these passives. I used that knockback one, and when I use that in conjunction with Unstoppable Object, you get a lot of knockback resistance. I think it's another 10%, so I think it's a total of 35%. Not sure about that, but that's just my feeling on it, because it doesn't tell you in the passive slots what that really is. You still have Bone Break here for 10% extra fracture. That doesn't really do much for you, though. You really need the ambush sense. And then if you're 1v1ing other Rexes, then the attack one could be good. That's great for 1v1ing other Rexes, really. It's not going to be as helpful as knockback on most other things, because most other Apexes you fight are going to have knockback, whether it's Bulldoze from the Giga or the Carc's tail or the Tyranno Titan's tail. That's pretty much what you want to use. Still got the regular bite, but now they've added the ability to chew on clamped targets, so you don't have to have a different bite now to do that like you used to. And then still got the charge bite, charge up the attack and deal heavy damage. That's 130 damage on base stats. It's a lot of damage. That's the same as the Tyranno Titan's heavy bite, which I think they should give the Rex more since it has to charge up for so long. Or reduce the Tyranno Titans. I'm not sure which, but either way, this will do a lot of damage and it's viable. The other one is the Crushing Bite, and I think this is the bread and butter for the Rex right now. For the all-round solo Rex player, you can use Crushing Bite again, and it's very effective because you can get 2 of those bites on an opponent, and it'll do full bone break. Or what's really beautiful, and what came along with this most recent update, is the ambush sense, and I'll go over that when I get to the senses. And it's still got clamp, which you can use to clamp onto low tier targets, and it's another decent way to ambush, because there's the real slow, fast stuff that you can't. The bone break's a little bit too slow in animation. They can usually dodge it pretty easy, but the clamp is good for them, and you can use that. So Lone Hunter is still available in the senses, and that'll give you the 10% increase attack damage. But if you have that, your Crushing Bite is not going to do full bone break. When you're grouped up with another partner, power couple is really good because it does only take 2 crushing bites to get that full bone break, and you'll get some bleed resistance or some status effect recovery, and also lowers your food and food and water drain, a little bit. So that's a really good one when you're grouped up with a partner. And it's great for brawling out Tyranno Titans and Karks and things like that, because you can stack that with the hide, resilient hide, and get extra bleed resistance. And it also helps with fracture, so when you're fighting amps or argents or anything like that. And then the really nice sense that they added here is ambush. And that 10 extra fracture is all you need to do full bone break in one bite on the crushing bite on the PT Rex. So the condition is that you've got to get an ambush, you've got to get the first bite, which obviously if you're ambushing somebody, you usually do get the first bite. So it's an excellent way to balance out the whole controversy of bone break being OP. They gave it the ambush sense, and now you can crushing bite somebody in one bite in an ambush, and you'll get the full bone break. So it works exactly like it did before. You're not getting the 10% lone hunter anymore, but arguably you don't really need that when you're ambushing anyway. So it's a good trade-off in my opinion, and a really good way to balance out the Rex and to deal with the controversy of bone break being OP. Because now if you have ambush equipped and you do get, in a situation where you're brawling it out with a Giga or a Kark or a Tyranno Titan or anything like that, or another Rex even, if you don't get the first hit, then you're at a severe disadvantage because you don't have power couple on for the bleed, or you don't have lone hunter on for the extra damage. So it's a trade-off, and I think it's a fair trade-off. Good way to balance that out. So if they have ambush, they don't have those other abilities, those other benefits, and it's going to put them at a disadvantage. So if you know what the Rex has and how to deal with it, you get a first hit on them, get a tail whack even, anything minor just to get the combat timer going, then you're going to take away their instant bone break, and they can't just stand there and spam bone break like they used to, and what made everybody complain about Rex players is that even a rookie could just spam bone break and hit it eventually. But now it actually requires some skill, and the more skilled Rex players are going to be much better off now, and the new players are going to be punished if all they want to do is spam bone break. It forces people to actually learn to play. Pulverize is still there, and you can use that in conjunction with clamp. Something I never really use, but it's the only thing in that slot, so you might as well use it. It's got the same diets as it did before. You got a Gorge. One thing to note about Gorge is that it does increase your sprint cost by 10%. So that's something a lot of people overlook. You don't want to be just having that on all the time. That'll definitely punish you because stamina is already horrible on the Rex. So you don't want to reduce that anymore. But in a pinch, if you're starving, and you need to slow down your hunger and water drain, this is definitely helpful for that. I'm not really sure why it costs the Rex more, because the Giga has it, and the PT Giga, and it doesn't take any more stamina, but it's just another piece of evidence to show that PT loves the Giga and hates the Rex. So, hyper carnivore is the one I usually use. You could use scavenger if you need to get a carcass or something like that. If you're starving and you need an AI carcass, you still do have the ability to eat that as well. If you really want to, you could eat a platyhystrix or a snake or something that has noxious meat, although those don't really do much to fill your hunger anyway, so I don't know why anybody would use that. And then the resilient hide is the bread and butter on the hides. That's the one you want to use most of the time, because most of the things that you fight are going to have bleed. And it really helps to use that with power couple, because it gives you a little bit of extra bleed resistance. So it's very, very nice for Tyranno Titans especially, and Karks, because of the extra bleed that they do. Endurant hide is still an option that you can choose, although I probably wouldn't really use that unless I was maybe 1v1ing other Rexes. Because most of your opponents do bleed, so you don't want to give up that extra bleed, I don't think. And then they still have the standard hide, which I don't really know why they have it. It's useless. They need to replace that with like the hide that gives you extra healing, like the Tyranno Titan has, I think, or something like that, or maybe something that helps you with bone break. Not really sure, but this one is useless, so there's no reason to use it. I don't even know why it's there as an option. Still got red herring, of course. You crouch and then you can pop that. It makes a twig snap sound and it gives you extra speed, 20% extra for like about 6 seconds, I think it is. It's not very long, but it's enough to help you with an ambush. I think they need to update that a little bit because the cooldown I think is like 5 minutes on it, so it's kind of ridiculous. They need to fix that, I think, because the OG Rex doesn't have that. But the new ability is Shatter Stride, and this one's really good. It boosts uphill and downhill movement speed when you're within 50 meters of a fractured target. That one's really good. I was able to actually catch a Giga. I got a crushing bite fracture on a Giga. It didn't bone break him because he had hit me first, but I was on hills, so I was able to actually catch him, and he did a charge too, and I was able to catch up to him going uphill and get another crushing bite on him and kill him. So Shatter Stride's money on this thing right now. It's really, really good. I usually use Shatter Stride and Red Herring. The kick is okay, but I don't usually use it. I figure I usually just find bite to be good enough. And then the tail lash is really good. Headbutts are different. It's updated now. It does a 180 when you use it, so you can change your direction behind you, which is cool to get a quick bite off. But tail lash is, I think, better because it does the knockback, and then you can just turn and bite your target. So I like to have the knockback tail. I think it's going to be more useful in more situations than the headbutt. But I do like the improvement to the headbutt because it used to just be horrible. And I don't know why you would even use tail lash. It's just a useless ability because you have another tail that does knockback. So why wouldn't you just want the one that does knockback? And they did get rid of Deep Rumble, but they've now added Terrible Roar, and it's actually way better than Deep Rumble, so it's a very nice improvement. Boosts your damage and cooldown by 25%, so it's a lot of extra DPS. And if you're with a partner, you can stack that with Tyrant Roar, and that gives you an additional 10%. So if you're on a server that allows more than 2 Rexes, which most of them don't, but if you are, then Tyrant Roar would be the one you'd want to go with because you could stack it to 30. But most servers only allow a pair of Rexes to operate, so you want to use either both of you use Terrible Roar, and you can alternate it, and you'll have more damage over a longer period of time, or you could stack Terrible Roar with Tyrant's Roar and have 35% extra damage in a shorter period of time. It's just up to you, and it depends really on the fight. So that's what we use to do these bounties. And in this first clip here, I'll just show you an example of the crushing bite with ambush, full bone break. And now the Amargasaurus can barely move, and we can kill it, and it can't just run around knocking you back 10 miles like the Amargasauruses are so good at doing. So it really, really helps, and that's a good illustration of it there. And then this was one of our bounties that we worked on, where there's 2 Gigas that had a bounty on them in Savannah, and so we tracked them down and found them here and had this fight. In this one, we both had Terrible Roar on because we were just alternating them, and that gives you a little more damage over the course of the fight. And with Gigas, you don't really need the extra 10% damage. The Terrible Roar damage is enough, as you can see there. In this clip, we came across a couple of other Rexes. We were hunting for a bounty in GP and ran into these other Rexes. And so this is an example of where you want Terrible Roar and Tyrant's Roar, because when you're fighting the 2 other Rexes, if they have that and you don't, then you're going to be at a disadvantage. So you want to maximize the damage stack as much as possible to give you as much advantage as you can get in this fight. So I dodge him right there and go and help my friend with that, focus on the one that he was on. And you can see how close it is. It's a very close fight. So you definitely need that extra damage. This was a DB Giga, had a bounty on his head, so I went with my PT Rex. Show you an example of Terrible Roar and Red Herring together. And I used the on alert sense to track him down. Once I located him, I was able to take him out. The DB Giga is a sub-Titan on this Apex Killers server, and the PT Rex is a tier below as an Apex. So you've got to really use your maneuverability and speed and try to stay behind them. I should have dodged that flesh graze right there, but he did pull it off finally. But I knew I had enough bites on him where he was showing that I could still probably out DPS him as long as I have Terrible Roar active. I don't think he ever got his call off either, so that really helped. He also didn't do a stomp. The stomp would have made it a lot closer for him. Here I teamed up with Bibster. He's also another YouTuber that primarily plays Rex. He's very, very good at Rex. And we were doing a bounty hunt on an OG Rex. And it was actually grouped up. So this is two PT Rexes versus the OG Rex. And this is a really good illustration of how the on alert sense works. We had been tracking him for a while, and you can see the yellow footsteps popping up from time to time on my screen, and that's how we're able to track where he was. See, there's the yellow footprint right there, and you can tell if they're moving away from you or closer to you, kind of what direction they're going, how many there are, etc. Sometimes it's weird, like I don't know why it wasn't showing both of those Rexes in this case. It was only showing one, but there were two here. So it is kind of buggy sometimes. And I think the yellow one means it's a large creature that's close to you, and the white means it's a smaller creature, something smaller than you, or something farther away. Now, I don't know if it's buggy, but like there was sometimes when like a DB Giga showed up as a white footprint, but it should be a yellow, so I'm not really sure about that. We did a good job of kind of splitting them up here and charging up our charge bites and getting in and out on them, focusing that one with the striped tail. Got a little kind of crazy there for me because I had the bushes covering my camera there for a second. It made it a bit hard. But those two charge bites were good enough to get that extra damage on him and allow Bibster to finish him off there. That was a good fight. Come over here and pop up. This is one where we found these two DB Gigas. I don't think this was a bounty, but I threw it in here because it was a good example again of using the Terrible Roar and the Tyrant's Roar together. You're going to need it on a DB Giga couple because they're one tier higher than you. Key really is to get extra damage on one, and they were focusing me. Once I got low, I was able to get away and use the knockback tail on the PT Rex. So it's a good illustration of how that's very helpful and why I like it. Because that helped me get away so that Lycan could finish him off, and you can see his health is still very, very good, so he was able to finish the fight there. This was the final bounty we did last night, and it was on a Carc player. This guy's Woody, very, very good Carc player. And I put a bounty out for $1 million, so he went to go get it on the Rexes. Now we were hoping to ambush him, so we both had ambush on. So we don't have power couple. And power couple is really what we should have in a brawl against a Carc. We have an advantage because there is two of us, and there's only one of him, but he's an expert Carc player, so he's very dangerous. But it's another example of how I think this ambush sense really balanced out Bone Break, because we have it on, and so we're now at a disadvantage because we're not going to get the first hit on him being a Carc. He's very quick and agile, and as you'll see, he comes in and gets a quick bite on us, and that takes away our ability to do full Bone Break on him. The other carc wasn't grouped with him, so it was confusing at first, but we figured it out a little bit later when he wasn't attacking that he must not have been grouped. We both have Terrible Roar on so that we can have more damage throughout the whole fight, because when you're fighting a carc, they like to hit and run, and so a whole bunch of damage for a short period of time isn't really going to do you any good when they can just wait it out. So we did have the right calls on, because now we can both use Terrible Roar and have that extra damage for most of the fight. One thing he's doing too is that he knows we have our calls active, so he's not going to get be super aggressive when he thinks we have that active, and he's going to try to wait it out. Here he does come in for some hits, and we exchange, which is good because the Rex is doing way more damage than he is, even though he's doing bleed. If we can get some exchanges, as long as I get a bite and trade bites, then I'm doing good against a carc. He was very good at avoiding my partner Coob and only focusing me, so he was kind of turning it into a 1v1 for the most part. I popped my Terrible Roar here because the other one was running out, and one of the things it's doing, if nothing else, is that if they want to wait it out, then that's still good for me, because it'll give me a chance to heal my bleed off. But if he does want to come in and get some bites, as long as I trade and get bites on him, then I am also getting the benefit of that Terrible Roar. So, like I say, Terrible Roar is good as a deterrent too when you're fighting bleeders. Even if it keeps them away from you, that's fine too. So there's multiple uses for that. He probably was getting a little bit too impatient here because I'm getting a lot of really good hits on him, and even though they are doing a lot of damage and bleed, the Rex does more damage. So if I can just keep those bites trading, then I'll get the win here in the long run. But he hasn't even hit Coob at all, and he was basically just making it a 1v1. He was sort of trailing him back and then dodging him like that, and he did get a couple hits on him there, I guess, but he was for the most part getting him separated from me, and then he would run in and get hits on me, which is a smart way to do it. Here I was able to get the extra bone break on him and stop him in his tracks, and that's the only way I was able to beat him. And you can see how low I am, and I think that's a really good example. I had Shatter Stride, which was helpful, but it's a good example to show that, like, you know, the Rex is not OP with the bone break in the state that it's in right now. It actually gives you the ability to effectively fight off a good carc player. So I thought that was really good. Now the last clip is this clip where I got attacked by these Cryptops, and another great example about the bone break situation and how if you're on a mid tier, all you got to really do, being so quick and agile, is get the first hit like these guys did on the Rex, and you've taken away the Rex's ability to do full bone break. So now I'm really dependent on the terrain, using terrain and trying to limit their ability from just coming in and out on me at will. And as long as I can maintain that advantage, then I got a chance to win the fight. I'm not going to be able to slow them down at all, so I've got to get and land my hits on them when they're coming in on me. And that's how come I don't really use Crushing Bite at all, or very much at all, in this fight. Because even if I do land a Crushing Bite, all it's going to do is a little bit of fracture on them, and they'll still be able to just run away. So if I land 2 Crushing Bites, then it'll be a full bone break, but you're not going to land 2 Crushing Bites in a row on something that fast. Unless I can tangle them up. If I can tangle them up, I might, but really the best bet is to just use terrain, try to get them stuck, and get main bites on them, regular bites on them. I'm not going to need my call. I don't need the extra damage for the mid tiers. I really just need to rely on my ability of hitting them when they come in like that. And eventually I'll get the win, as long as they Usually in a situation like this, one of them will make a mistake and I'll be able to get a hit and get the win. So thought it was a good example to show that the bone break isn't a really good. The way they've balanced it out, I thought was really good. It makes the Rex still very dangerous, gives you the ability to ambush when you want to, but if you're out in the plains and you get caught, then you're not going to be able to use bone break, and you're not going to have that OP ability working for you, and it forces you to be smart. So it rewards more skillful players, and it's not rewarding players that just like to spam bone break, and that's kind of how it was before. Even a beginner could just run out and spam bone break and eventually probably land one, and that is kind of what made bone break so OP and why so many people complained about it before. And so I do understand that, and I think this is a really good solution for it. And I hope that Alderaan learns from this and applies this to the OG Rex as well. It'll be awesome because the OG Rex actually needs bone break, even more so than the PT Rex. But that was that was my update on the PT Rex. I love it again. I'll be using it again. And the bounty system on Apex Killers community server is awesome. Come check it out. It's a lot of fun. And give me a like and subscribe if you haven't, and I do hope to see you out there in Gondola. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.